Plain and simple. Americans are not saving enough money for retirement. Recently, I stumbled across some really alarming data from Northwestern Mutual's 2019 Progress and Planning Report. In this study, I found a worrying 22% of Americans had less than $5,000 saved in their retirement accounts. There's another 5% that had between $5,000 and $25,000 saved, and even more alarming, 46% of people in the study did not know how much money they had saved for retirement at all. Now, you might be thinking the study only interviewed younger people because there's such little amount in retirement savings that we see. However, the study also paneled baby boomers, formerly defined as people ages 55 to 73, and they found 17% of this population, which was pretty close to retirement, had less than $5,000 saved for retirement. Now, that's 17% of baby boomers that are so close to retirement do not have the funds to sustain their retirement. Clearly, having less than $5,000 will not sustain you for even a year in retirement. So what gives here? How come we have such little retirement planning going on throughout all the generations of Americans surveyed? Well, I think that's because we don't have enough financial literacy taught in schools. And there's a lot of confusing terms surrounding retirement accounts that might dissuade someone from starting their own account and starting to do their diligence. In this video, I want to talk about different tax-advantaged retirement accounts that you can take advantage of so that you're not in that same situation when you're close to retirement. You've probably heard terms like 401k, IRAs thrown out a lot, and that might be confusing at first. I plan on breaking down these different accounts that you can take advantage of and what their pros and cons are. Next, I'll compare these different accounts, and finally, I will provide a strategy that you can use to really maximize your time as a young adult to sustain yourself into retirement. So let's get to it. Let's begin by starting with a 401k. 401k is a tax-advantaged, defined contribution account that is offered by employers. In the traditional form of a 401k, you set aside money from your payroll to put directly into this account. And this is tax-advantaged, meaning you can take out that money that you put into your account out of your incomes, and therefore you are effectively decreasing the income tax you'll have to pay because of your contribution to a 401k. Now, this is referred to as tax-advantaged because in the short term, you can reduce the amount of income tax you're paying. And furthermore, as you put money into this account, you do not have to pay taxes on your earnings right away. So your investments are not taxed as they are growing. Instead, when you're at the age of retirement, then you will proceed to pay taxes on all the money you have invested in this account. So to summarize, you're not paying taxes on these dollars up front. You're deducting them from your income and therefore decreasing your income taxes in a traditional 401k. You are not paying taxes on your earnings throughout your investment period. But finally, you're only paying taxes when you actually withdraw these contributions when you reach retirement. This means that your earnings can compound tax-free, and you will only have to pay taxes at the very end of your cycle, so when you're actually drawing funds for retirement. This type of account is also so exciting because some employers offer something called a matching policy. So up to a certain amount of the contributions you make, your employer will put that same amount of money in your 401k. So let's say they do 100% matching and you fully max out your 401k for a year. Your employer will effectively double the amount of money you're putting into that account if they have 100% matching on your policy. So different employers have different plans, so it's very important that you fully understand what sort of plan that you have established and make the most of those employer match contributions. It's effectively free money. You should be taking the money because they have that infrastructure set in place for you. A Roth 401k is another type of plan that is becoming increasingly common nowadays. So this is an alternative to a traditional 401k. The big difference is you are funding a Roth 401k with post-tax paid dollars. So instead of paying tax for when you withdraw that money for retirement as you would with a traditional 401k, with a Roth 401k, you are already paying income tax on the money that you are funding into this account. But you don't have to pay any tax on the earnings you make in this account. So when you reach the age of 59 and a half, you can take out your qualified distributions tax-free at that point because you've already funded this account with tax-paid dollars. So use a Roth 401k if you're in a lower tax bracket today and you're also younger. As of 2020, into a 401k in general, you can contribute $19,500 annually with a catch-up bonus of $6,500 if you're past the age of 50. And as I mentioned, in these accounts, your employer can match your contributions up to a certain percent. So if they offer 100% matching, they would fully match the $19,500 that you're annually putting into this account. So take that free money. Next, let's talk about IRA, which stands for an individual retirement account. Now, as the name implies, this is individual. This is not monitored by some employer and it's not set up by your boss. Instead, you are the sole proprietor of this account. You usually create this account with a bank or a brokerage, so a third party. Vanguard is a very popular brokerage that you can use to start your very own IRA. Now, just like with the 401k, there's a traditional and a Roth variant of this IRA. With the traditional form of this account, you are funding it with pre-tax dollars. So the funding into this account is tax deductible. Whatever you contribute, you can take that off of your income and effectively pay less income taxes on the fiscal year. However, with the traditional variant, just like with the 401k, you do have to pay taxes when you actually withdraw the money at the end. So it's still a tax advantage account because you don't have to pay taxes on your earnings while it's actually being invested. But when you want to withdraw the money towards retirement, then you will have to pay taxes on the money that you are withdrawing. A Roth IRA, on the other hand, you are funding this account with post-tax paid dollars. So you've already paid taxes on this. They're part of your take-home pay. You will not have to pay taxes on the money that you withdraw in retirement. Now, an IRA has a $6,000 annual contribution limit. And again, this account has a catch-up bonus as well if you're above 50. So you can add an extra $1,000 if you're above the age of 50. Now let's compare 401ks to IRAs and talk about the advantages and benefits to each. One downside of a 401k as opposed to an IRA is the limited investment options that you have to take advantage of. This plan is managed by your employer and they give you essentially a menu of index funds and mutual funds that you can actually invest in. So you couldn't invest in any stock or ticker that you thought would be lucrative. Instead, you're really restricted to these mutual funds and index funds as dictated by your employer's plan. In IRA, on the other hand, you have the freedom to invest however you would like. So you can play whatever strategy you would like to play, you can buy any stock you'd like to buy, and you're not restricted by what your employer has mandated for you in a given menu. Now, withdrawals with the 401k pre-retirement can be a bit more tricky because they're managed by an employer. On the other hand, an IRA is managed by you and a brokerage, so it can be a bit easier to withdraw your funds with an IRA preemptively. However, in both cases, if you're drawing these funds pre-retirement, you may incur a penalty on the funds that you're drawing. So this isn't really a big advantage or deterrent either way because hopefully you just keep that money in that retirement account until you do reach the age of retirement. Both of these accounts are tax advantaged, so they provide some sort of tax benefit. One benefit to a 401k is that you can contribute much more money to these than you can to an IRA. So as I mentioned with the 401k, you can contribute $19,500 as of 2020, and you can even have that matched up to 100% by your employer. However, with IRAs, you can only contribute at a max up to $6,000, not including the catch-up bonus. So there's a big discrepancy there between the actual funding limits. So now that you actually understand what these accounts are, we should talk about a strategy that you can employ to really maximize your annual contributions to your retirement savings so that you don't end up in a situation where you're close to retirement and you have no track of your retirement finances. First, you should check to see if your employer offers some sort of matching to your 401k. If they do, you should contribute a maximum amount to your 401k so that you maximize the amounts that you're receiving from your employer. So if they offer 100% matching, then you should contribute the full $19,500 to a 401k because then you get effectively double the amount that you're putting into that account. Free money. Why wouldn't you take free money? Although you do have limited investments that you can choose from here, you can still choose a great strategy of index funds to grow your money. And you already are doubling your money because of employee matching. So really take advantage of that to get the most bang for your buck. To summarize, first put as much money as you need to into this account to max out your employer matching. After you've taken advantage of that employer matching, now let's pivot to an IRA. So you should really create an IRA, either traditional or Roth, whatever you think is better for your situation, and fund that maximally. After you have funded your IRA fully, now let's go back to the 401k and max out the contribution if you can to $19,500. So you're maxing out the annual limits of both these accounts optimally. So maximize your 401k so that you can really utilize this tax advantage situation and really fund as much as you can for your retirement. Let's say instead you chose to manage your money in a personal brokerage account instead of a 401k. In this situation, you're paying tax every fiscal year on the earnings that you've made in this brokerage account. In a 401k, you wouldn't have to pay taxes on your earnings until retirement because it's tax advantaged. So really utilize that 401k up to its max because of that inherent tax benefit you will get. Let's look at a different situation where your employer doesn't offer 401k matching. Then you should start with the IRA, either the traditional or the Roth variant of this account. After you have fully maximized that, you should still go back to your 401k and visit it for the first time because it has that tax benefit to you. Fund it as much as you can up to that annual limit so that you take the most benefit out of your dollars today. Now for both that 401k and that IRA that you have started, let's talk about if you should choose the traditional version or the Roth version of these accounts. If you anticipate in the future that you will be in a higher tax bracket and you're also pretty young today and far from retirement, take advantage of the Roth versions of these accounts. This way you can already fund these accounts with post-tax paid dollars, but you won't have to pay taxes on your earnings when you draw them in retirement. You have so much time to let compounding interest work for you, so a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k is a great option here. Now, the traditional forms of these accounts will give you an immediate tax break because their fundings are tax deductible. If you anticipate that you'll be in a lower tax bracket close to retirement and you think you could really make the most of these tax deductions today, well then go ahead and opt for the traditional variants of these accounts so that you can lower the amount of income taxes that you will pay while simultaneously funding your retirement accounts. Weigh out the options and choose wisely. I know all these retirement accounts and these different plans can seem a bit overwhelming at first, but this video should really give you a good foundation in what you need to know to get started. You can start a 401k plan with your employer if it's offered, and you can start an IRA on your own. If you stick to this plan, you won't be like those 17% of baby boomers that are very close to retirement with no retirement funds allocated. If you start thinking about this today as a young adult, you can be in a much better situation close to retirement. We all deserve financial stability and a stress-free retirement. So take advantage of these today while you're young so you'll thank yourself in the future. My name is Faisal and thank you so much for watching this video. If you found content like this useful, please consider subscribing. Additionally, if you thought it was really great and you got a lot of value out of it, also consider liking and commenting. That way you'll help me with the YouTube algorithm and we can continue to nurture our community of like-minded people. Thank you so much for watching and until next time.